Regimen and Delius headed for the transport lift and quickly took it, heading down towards the docking bay. The ship was quite large, so even in the transport lift, it did take some time to reach the docking bay, in which Regimen looked over at Delius. So, you're supposed to be some sort of godly being, right? Well, no. People just say that. I do not believe myself a god. It is the belief of my people that we are all part of a delicate cycle. We all take our place within it, from the most massive of entities down to the smallest. We are all simply pieces, playing our part in the cycle. I am not a god. I am not beyond death. My life cycle is simply much longer than that of the worlds and races that exist outside of my world. And I am much stronger and faster and even perceptive. But this does not make me a god. Superior in ability, perhaps, but not a god. I am far from being beyond death. I have seen far too many people die to believe such nonsense. What of you? You do not look like a warrior. How exactly do you intend to battle the enemy with naught but a cane? Well, I suppose I don't have to understand it, Delia said. You are, after all, a sorcerer. We have them on my planet as well. I have a particularly unfortunate relationship with one, but the others seem quite nice. Their abilities are interesting. However, I prefer to keep things simple. Sorcery is too complex for me. I prefer the simplicity. Oh, so your world has sorcerers, Regimen replied. Well, after all of this is said and done, I would love to have an introduction to one of these sorcerers from your world. Learning some godly sorcery might be just what the doctor ordered for me. In fact, it might make this whole trip worth it. I mean, seriously, I'm having to do all of this just to pay off that psychopath's debt. Ugh, I can't believe it. It's such an annoyance. It feels like he's dead, but he still has me doing his dirty work. I rather hate it. To be quite honest, there are many things that I dislike about the man that Jax refers to as the Doctor, but I know better as the Devil. And the thing that I don't like most about him is that I am so much very like him. In so many ways, I'm like a mirror. I see myself in him as he no doubt sees himself in me. I know his tale as if it were my own, because in fact it is my own. It is the cruelest twist of fate. That, honestly, the person that I hate most in the universe is basically me. How's that for the complicated life of a sorcerer? We go by many names where I come from. Mages, wizards, casters. But it all amounts to the same thing. I've spent my life in the mastery of magic, and a good deal of my death as well. But if there is one thing that differs me from that man, it is that there are things in this world that I cherish. I am not like him, because unlike him, I am not alone. And if I have anything to say about it, I will never be so. I, unlike him, will not watch all that I love fade to ashes. I would rather burn to ashes myself than allow it. You talk about him like you respected him and hated him at the same time. That sounds like a pretty tricky relationship, Delius replied, looking over to him, as he seemed to be lost in thought for a moment. Yes, it was. In the end, his downfall was that he could not tolerate what was not alike about us. Though we were alike in so many ways, he refuses to accept the single difference, that I am not alone. And in this distaste for the difference between us, he sought to allure me to his side, to tell me of all that could be gained if I simply cast off my supposed weaknesses, those that I care about, my friends, my family. He wanted me to rid myself of them, to move beyond the necessity for them. And in the end, when I continuously refused to do so, he decided to take it upon himself to rid me of my anchors, the weights that he believed held me back. He wanted a challenge. He had spent so much time being untouchable, defeating gods and deities and other worldly beings with powers that far outweigh that anyone else can even truly believe exist at all. That the only thing that was left for him was challenge, and yet there were none until he found me. And so, in me, he began to sow seeds of power, understanding, and control. He built me up, not because he values me, because he cared about me, not even because he wanted me to live, or wanted to kill me. No, he, like so many others who stood upon a mountaintop, all alone, staring down at all those who could not reach it, wanted for nothing else but for someone else to climb to the top. His life had become a search for challenge, and being that there were no more challengers, he created one. Someone that he thought would be enough to offer him true challenge, or at least that's the story he told me the day that I killed him. But who knows if it's true or not. The man is quite frankly baffling. Most times, I can trust unequivocally that he would tell me the truth, and in other circumstances, he would hold the truth, let me know that he knew what it was, but simply refused to tell me without fair exchange. And still other things I know he blatantly lied about. You could never tell what direction he was coming from, whether his words really rung true. I often question it myself, whether there was another agenda, whether there was a second purpose, or whether that was truly his purpose at all. Part of me even believes that he simply wanted to die. He wanted someone to be powerful enough to kill him, to defeat him in fair contest, and take his place, that he had grown weary of the game, and no longer wished to play. But there is still yet another part of me that believes that this is just another part of it. He spent my entire life playing games with me. Everything was a game from the moment he met me to the moment I killed him. And a part of me believes that I played right into his plans, that this is just another step in achieving his end goals, and I just haven't the foggiest of what they are. Though I have known their man my entire life, I can truthfully and honestly tell you here and now, I know him less than I have ever known any man, and still yet admired him more than nearly any man I have ever met. So complicated does not begin to cover it. But look at me droning on. We have a war to win, if my memory serves me correct, Regimen said as the doors to the lift opened to a docking bay. One of the Jaxes standing in front of the doors as they did. Okay, welcome. We're just about to achieve drop. Is there any equipment that you need before we do this? Either you're gonna need to breathe air, weaponry requirements. This could go on for a while. No, I'm perfectly fine, Regimen replied. I have everything that I need and can provide it to myself, even in space. I will not need your aid, but I'll do my best to keep the monsters from killing you. Yeah, sure, guy. What about you, Delius? Do you need anything? Air? No, I don't need anything like that, Delius replied. I mean, I breathe air. but I can actually hold my breath for years at a time. So, packing an oxygen tank around just seems unnecessary. Well, you learn something new every day. Are you sure you're going to be able to get around out there? Or are you going to need some sort of propulsion? We have vehicles, maneuverability jets. We can outfit you with whatever you need. No, by the looks of it, there were plenty of asteroids out there. I can hop between those fairly easy enough. Good to hear it, Jax replied, as he reached into his pocket and extended his hand. In it were two small devices. They were practically tiny. They looked more like teeth, little white objects that upon close inspection had some sort of technological aspect to them. These are ultra repeaters. They tap directly into the frequencies we communicate on. Put these in your ear and we'll be able to talk to you. They've already been retrofitted to deal with your radiation, Delius. So don't worry. Through these we'll be able to communicate and coordinate attacks and efforts. If I must, Regimen said as he extended his hand, grabbing one of the devices and placing it into his ear. Delius did the same. Good. Okay, we're ready to go. Drop, preparing. Take positions. Drop will occur in 10 seconds, the female voice announced, as all of the different individuals on board the docking bay began to scramble towards segments. It looked like that was where they were going to be deployed from. All right, guys, pick a door, any door, the Jack said before running off to a door of his own and leaving Delius and Regimen to choose theirs.